to another episode of For the Love of the Game. This week, it's just your brothers chopping it up. But guess what? I should have some tea here because we got a lot of tea to spill. We got a lot of happenings going on in the world of basketball. Coach Fowler, how's everything going with you?
Pretty good, man. Staying busy. Staying
Amen.
busy.
So how's everything been in the Boo world, the EYBL world?
It's heading in the right direction, man. We got a new coach again.
Oh
Um, and I think they've nailed it this time. So we got a tournament this weekend at Boo. And then 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, we head to Las Vegas. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But things have been going well, heading in the right direction.
so that is awesome, man. So going all the way to Las Vegas. Now, when y'all gonna be in Las Vegas?
July, what's that? July 8th through 10th, I think it is.
Oh, that's cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. Well, hopefully Asia shows up, and, because it's Boo, EYBL. That's a big thing. Maybe Asia will show up. You never
Well,
know.
she's Nike. She's a Nike athlete, so it's a possibility. I mean, I think most likely I would say she'll probably be there,
That is awesome.
unless they're on a road. They have a road game or something like that, but they won't be on the road for all 3 days. So I would say she probably will be there.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Now, what's this with all this scrapping that's been going on in basketball lately, Coach Fowler? I'm gonna put it out. I'm gonna probably. I'm not. If they fuss with us or whatever, or they demonetize us, I'm gonna go and put the little scrap up right around here. I'm gonna have it playing at the same time that we're talking. For those that don't know, there was a little scrap that happened at the Henrico Sports Center between a coach and a referee, and then all of a sudden, a whole team. And it kind of reminded me, Coach Fowler, of the good old days of the NWO versus Dusty Rhodes and Sting and everybody. Because I'll be honest with you, Coach, when I first saw it, I thought it was like an AI joke because the punches were so bad that they
Yeah.
looked like they look like pro wrestling punches.
Wrestling punches.
You punch and you really ain't punching and you ain't hitting nothing. That's what I was like. Oh, that's not real. Like that ain't a real. So I flipped past it, and then when you told me about it, then I was like, oh snap, that really happened. So what's your take as someone who's been around 20, 30 years in this? What is your take when you see stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I first saw it, I was scrolling through and it popped up, and I was just going to keep going because I guess I'm desensitized from that anymore because I just see it so often on my timeline. Uh, but then I noticed that it said Henrico, and I was like, oh, okay, let me look at it because this is right up the road.
Right,
Um, and it's hard to say, man, because it's in all my years, it's just been recent that you've started seeing these things and the way they're fighting and for what they're fighting for. I mean, the game was over.
right,
I mean, I think I saw where it was like in the last few minutes of the game or last minute of the game, and then this happens. My assumption is that coach lost. Uh, Take your L and go home, man. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
now you're making yourself look bad, your whole program look bad, hanging around, fighting, regardless of who started it. I mean, you're making everybody look bad. The whole game, the whole tournament. Now I know you posted a defense for the tournament.
right.
But I mean, you're making it look, all it takes is that to happen one or two times. People start saying, "No, we're not gonna go back to that tournament."
There you go.
So.
There you go.
Yeah, but no, it's crazy to me. That stuff like that happens, uh, you know, at basketball tournaments and whatnot, just because a couple bad calls. I mean, you're going to fight somebody for missing calls, regardless of whether they did it, whether they were just trying to rush the game or whatever. Um, that doesn't warrant a fight.
Okay. Now, Coach Fowler, I got to ask you the tough question, though, Coach Fowler. I got to ask you the tough question. All right. Now, I know you was a baller till around age 21 yourself. All right. And then you became a coach at a very young age. and coaching AAU teams over all these years. Now you're in your 40s. Now, over all these years, how many times, honestly, have you had to throw a punch? And then how many times have you had to push someone? Because there's two different type of basketball fights. There's a basketball fights where you actually throw hands, and then there's basketball fights where you're just pushing and talking trash. How many times have you actually had to throw hands in 20, 30 years? And how many times have you had to push?
In a organized game, never. I mean, there might have been a putting your head together, type of exchange, um, but never had to throw punches in an organized game.
Right.
Now, I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so I mean, I've had to throw a couple times in backyard games, but or whatnot, but never. I can't remember a time at all in an organized basketball game that I got into it.
That's good. That's good.
So I mean, like I said, I mean, somebody talk junk and you kind of bump heads or put your shoulder together. You were used to fight. You went 5 minutes in circles, brushing your shoulder up against the other person's shoulder. Um, I could think maybe something like that, but never, never anything like what I just saw
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the Henrico Center.
Yeah. I think that's why it's funny that all of this came about. I got a lot to share on this one. I'm sorry. Um, but it was funny because me and I don't think he minds me saying this. Me and he's a dad that I hope to bring on, and he's in a sports hall of fame. So he would be a great he's a great sports dad, and
Hmm.
he coaches basketball, and then also I don't know if he's in a football hall of fame or a basketball hall of fame, but he's in a his name is and I want to bring him on here. But me and him were having like a little philosophical discussion with some dads, and um, his point that he was making, and I get where it comes from, especially after seeing Team Mello, because Team Mello's so tough and they're just so hard. He was making the point that he was really concerned that our suburban kids are not tough enough, and that they are overly protected, and he was talking about and he, like you, have seen really high level basketball, so he's really concerned about getting his kids around a tougher environment, because that grind, if you're not around that grind, that hard nosed basketball, then you're not going to be ready for it when it comes to you at certain environments in certain
Hmm.
places. And he was making that point, and my counterpoint was, yeah, I, I want that as well for my kids, but you kind of have to be careful, because in some environments, the on court grind comes with off court drama.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's hard to get the on court toughness without the off court craziness. You know what I mean? And um it's I share that because I want my kids to be tougher too, and I want it to be as hard nosed as possible on the court. But I also want my kids to be around good kids
Hmm.
and around good families where they're not going to get caught up in no mess. And I just want to share this, and I want to kind of segue philosophically. This is something I believe in, and this is I'll do a defense even for those kids who got caught in that graduation fight recently.
Hmm.
Um, it's easy to go and judge all of the kids who are in the fight, but I only really blame the people who started everything. Because here's the thing: I'm 53 years old. If I see Fowler in a fight at Harrisonburg, I'm jumping in. You see what I'm saying? And what I'm trying to say is, why can I say that? Because I pick my friends closely, and I don't pick friends that are troublemakers. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So if one of my friends are in a fight, like Fowler just told our audience, he been doing this all this time, never had to throw hands at an organized event. Because why? Fowler's not a troublemaker. That's why Fowler's my friend. So if I see Fowler in a fight, I don't even have to judge. If someone's throwing hands with Fowler, I immediately know Fowler didn't start that. So then I can immediately jump in because I know Fowler didn't start it because my friends don't start stuff. You see what I'm saying?
I get you. Yeah.
So my point is we got to be really careful about who we associate with. And let me just say a third thing. I know I'm talking too much, Coach Fowler. I want to say a
You
third
got
thing.
it.
I was in. I'm gonna delete out the name because I don't want him to be mad at me or whatever else. But I was part of, and is always a good guy. Is the type of guy who he's not a troublemaker. He's, I'm not trying to say his organizational skills are the best, but he's not someone that goes around causing problems, right?
Yeah.
But then he gets a coach that he had almost gotten into a fight with before, who is a troublemaker, and brings that guy into the organization. And that's when immediately I knew I'm done. I'm out. Because I don't want my kids following after a coach that every time that coach goes to a tournament, he's screaming and cursing and carrying on and about to get into a fight.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I'll even say this, I'm not the greatest fighter in the world, but if my coaches get into a fight, I'm not going to get so if you're a coach and you're spending time to train my children and love on my children and educate my children, and we're at an athletic event together, and I see you get into a fight, I'm not going to go and just stand there and just watch people beat up on you. I'm going to go and get involved. Even if I'm not the greatest fighter in the world, I'm going to do something. Because I'm from North Carolina. I'm going to do something. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to just stand there and watch one of my friends get. Now, I want to be very clear with everybody. I might jump in and not be able to do nothing. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm slow and I'm older now and I'm slow. But if you're one of my friends, if you're truly one of my friends, I'm not going to stand there and watch you get beat on. So when we watch these situations, I think for me, the lesson is it's not people, we freak out when we see these fights and we try to throw everybody under the bus who gets involved in these fights. I'm a pastor. I'm 53. I got a top secret clearance. It is possible you're going to see me in a fight. But I promise you, I'm not going to be looking for the fight. I'm not going to be starting the fight. And then if I'm in a fight, I'm typically going to be jumping in to help someone who I know is not a troublemaker. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times we go and we jump, and that's what bothered me about the video is you have a grown adult who is instigating things, and now he's got kids following in after him.
Yeah.
And then now these kids' reputations are damaged, and these kids could end up getting charges because they followed after this a grown adult, you know. So I just want to share that you got to be careful who your friends are. You got to be careful who you follow. You see what I'm saying? You got to be careful who you associate with because all of this stuff it can lead to, you know, a friend is something you should take. Like if you have someone who's an actual friend, you should take that seriously.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be two faced or hypocritical and saying yes, I will fight for my friends. But my point is this: if you're also one of those troublemakers who are always getting into something, then I'm also kind of back away from the friendship
Yeah.
because I don't want that smoke. You see what I'm saying? If you're a coach and you're going and causing that kind of problem, I don't want my kid ain't gonna be involved in that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on what I just shared, Coach? Sorry, I had to go on and on about this. I just have a lot on my mind about that.
Well, one of the funny comments that me and my wife were laughing at was somebody posted how respectful they were like the kids were so respectful before and so respectful afterwards. And it goes along the lines of what you're saying because they're probably decent kids, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they were talking, but it's funny how before this big brawl they were respectful, and then after the brawl was over they were respectful. That we thought that was kind of funny the way somebody pointed that out. But but just that moment in between they weren't very respectful. But again that's where it makes a difference to me who I let coach my kids, and You know, now only one, you know, Italy being the only one left, you know, finding the right people to surround yourself with. You know, and you're right. I mean, it's as far as the type of people you want to be around. And I think there's a lot that goes with that. Somebody else wrote, uh, there were two people arguing in the comment section about EYBL never has these type of things. Uh, because the kids that play on EYBL understand the assignment. You
Right.
know, you can't say it's any different kids. I mean, I know kids that come from the same areas as some of these other kids you see in fights and stuff. You know, they come from the same schools, same type of background, and but they understand if I do this on the EYBL circuit, you know, just as much as if I play well on the EYBL circuit, I can get seen. If I do something like this, I can also get seen. Uh, and so no, you don't see kids doing that because you know, they're shooting for higher goals. They have the right people around them. You don't see too many knuckleheads on the EYBL. You know, my guess is, you know, these Nike programs aren't going to have somebody representing them, um, you know, that's ignorant
Right.
and doing things like this coach is doing. So, you know, that's why there's a difference there. The standard is a little bit higher because Nike's involved. So you're right. Surrounding yourself with the right people makes all the sense in the world because, you know, can you be around kids that are rough around? But, you know, my daughter played with some girls that were rough around the edges last year, but we ain't ever have a brawl. You know, there's some things that they did that were questionable, and it was like, you know, but Italy was exposed to it. But Italy, at that point, we had to trust that we raised her to not engage in certain things, you know, as well. But I thought that she gained a lot from the friendships and from the, you know, from relationships she built with those girls last year. So, you know, again, I mean, you know, it can go both kind of both ways. I mean, I know I would not want my daughter associated with a program, you know, like what is it built different. If that's what y'all's program is about, no, I don't want to be a part of that. But could I be okay with her being around kids that are from, you know, a different area, you know, a rougher life, rougher background, you know, a little bit rough around the edges? I'd be okay with that as long as they're not engaging in ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah.
We new heat on the feed, top queens of the court, how they pave what we need. No go at the art, crowd lean when they rise. You can hear in our voice how it still hits our lives. Classic pics on the wall, sign box on the desk. We rewind every step, every cut, every flex. From the tunnel to the tip, it's a story in the crease. Every scuff on the toe, say the grind don't sleep. This that kick of the week. We talk game, talk grace, talk sneaks. From the paint to the top of the key. For the love of the game, that's me. This that kick of the week. She laced up pro history indies. Every stripe, every stitch, every squeak. For the love of the game, we speak. We speak. Overtime nights, hold you.
Amen. Amen. It's just easy. It's just easy when stuff pop off to get caught up in, you know, when other people are getting, you know, when stuff pops off, things can go left quick. You know, things.
Well, I would say this that Italy felt safer last year than she ever felt
Oh wow.
when girls came after her or girls did it because I remember she got fouled hard one time, and I mean you didn't even have to blink, and three of the girls on her basketball team last year were already standing up, like, you know.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
She didn't even have to worry about it. She, you know, those three girls were already boom right up on the other girl, like, nuh-uh. you know, you're not picking on her, that's for sure.
Amen.
So
Amen.
she felt safer last year than she ever felt.
Amen.
But yeah, I can deal with that. That to me is not aggressive behavior. That's exactly what you said. You know, Italy didn't start it, but those girls were ready to jump in for her because they knew she wasn't a troublemaker.
Right.
They knew she wasn't starting no fight, and they weren't gonna let somebody else come pick on her because they thought she was soft. So yeah, you know, I've kind of seen a little bit. You have a hard time surprising me with anything with as much as I've seen on the circuits the last couple of years, man.
Amen. Amen. Now you have said that like the kids might behave better on EYBL, but you have seen some parents act a fool on EYBL, right? Or have you ever seen that? Or
Absolutely. Uh, um, Now, not on the EYBL. I can't say on that side.
uh-huh.
Because again, at New Orleans, you had the junior EYBL separated, from the EYBLs. The EYBL seemed all right for the most part. Junior EYBL has some work to do, but I mean, not everybody on the junior EYBL needs to be on the junior EYBL. I'll just say that.
Okay.
It's there are kids they're still trying to weed through um, that might have a little something. But by the time you're in ninth, 10th, 11th grade, um, I will say just say in the Boo program, uh, you're not having too many issues with those teams.
Right.
I mean, by then they weeded out the kids that are, special and the ones that even if they're even if there's somebody more talented, they've gotten rid of them because they didn't want to deal with the nonsense that went along with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. 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 Right.
And I can see that within the Boo program. So I'm assuming all the other programs are very similar. They might have some issues on their, junior EYBL teams. But by the time you get to that EYBL, it's the right mix.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Now I have noticed something. Now, even though according to all video that we saw, they didn't necessarily start it on that fight. Um, when you look at the behavior of the refs, they didn't seem like they comported themselves in a way to they didn't seem like they were masters of de-escalation either. You see what I'm saying? Like they seemed like they were kind of they were down for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they instead of walking off or calming things down, they seemed like they kind of were ready for the business. And I noticed this as well. I have seen, especially at Henrico, I won't go into which organization he was repping, but we had a ref recently in the middle of a game trying to recruit one of our players to an EYBL organization, and and he's reffing our kids at the same time he's saying, "Hey, we need to get her to, you know, we need to get her to this organization," and he's reffing us at the same time, and then. Um, and then so now it's going to even make things worse because now there's going to be less people willing to referee after they saw that fight. What are we going to do? Like, and you're someone who actually has to hire referees. And matter of fact, we won't get into it, but we've seen some things where referees have had some integrity issues and stuff like that. What do we do about the drought of good referees, Coach Fowler? What do you think can be done?
So here's another story. Conversation me and my wife were having the other day as well about referees. And to me, you can find referees easy. They're saying it's such a shortage you can't find referees. You can find referees easy. And it's because and there's a lot of people that say, oh, the referees are only making $30-$40 a game. You know, I laugh at that. That's $30 to $40 for 45 minutes of work.
Yes, sir.
What other job are you getting that from?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? And so to me, that's crazy for somebody to be like referees don't get paid enough, or referees are only getting paid $30 to $40 a game. And I'm thinking like that's a nice paying job, you know?
Right, that's right.
And that's why there's never going to be a shortage of referees because the pay is good. No matter what people try to say, they're gonna downplay it and be like, man, that's it, only 30, whatever. That's a good pay, and that's why you won't have a shortage of referees.
Right.
What we have is a shortage of good referees
Yeah.
and professional referees because now you have people who are really just in it to get that quick paycheck
Yeah.
and that tax-free paycheck
Yeah.
and they're wanting to rush the games. So here's another thing that I laughed at is that I read a comment about it, from a guy on one of these posts about the fight, and they blamed it on the tournament directors, and they blamed it on, you know, them trying to rush through a tournament. Uh, if they didn't rush so much, they wouldn't miss so many calls.
Mm,
That's not necessarily true. Can you call everything if you have a stop clock game? Then he went on to say, and can you believe some of them even have running clocks? So that's the reason that we have running clocks.
right, right,
We can stay on schedule, and the referees can still call every single call.
right,
That's up to the referee. We can't control what they call, but as tournament directors, we can control, can we stay on schedule? Because if the referees are calling everything and we're 30 minutes to an hour behind, you're gonna be mad that we're 30 minutes or an hour behind.
right,
So how do you kind of work together with that? Is you have to have, at that point, you run the clock. You don't have to run it for the whole game. I mean, like I said, with ours, it's 16-minute halves. Last 5 minutes it's running clock to the last 5 minutes of each half. So, and we stay on time, and those referees get paid for about 45 minutes of work or whatever. But at that point, now you don't have to hold calls. You can still make all the calls you want to because the game's going to end at the same time regardless. And we're going to stay on time, and everybody's going to be happy because we're on time, and everybody's going to be a little more happy. Not everybody's going to be happy at referees regardless. Somebody's going to lose, and that team is going to blame the referees.
right.
So, uh, but the calls are able to be made. So I don't know how teammate did it this past weekend, if it was running clock or what the situation was. Um, but referees are going to call how referees want to call. And some of them take the game a little more seriously, and some are just there for the paycheck. Some are trying to rush through the games and get it over with. So the shortage we have is good referees, professional referees, because I do remember a time where referees really had pride in what they did, and they wanted to do it right. They wanted for the integrity of the game, for the integrity of the profession, all of that. They wanted to get it right. They wanted to do everything they could on their end to protect that. And I don't think we have that with all the referees that we have nowadays. There are enough to pick from, but you have to be good about picking them. And I try to be. I mean, I try to get the guys that I know are into it, and not just coming to get a paycheck. That care about the kids, that care about the game. And so when I get to hand pick mine, and there's some tournaments I can't always hand pick. You got a certain amount of courts. Um, Something else is going on somewhere else, and referees are being torn different directions and whatnot. Sometimes you have to take what you get, but I do my best to try to get the ones that I feel are professional and care about the integrity of the game.
Amen. Now, there's a name that y'all have for like the referee who organizes and gets all the referees at an event. What's the name of that?
And a signer,
The assigner. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's the key, is to have a good assigner, because, and I don't know all the things that you know, but just from a guy watching from the outside, and I'll give an example. Coach Coach Carter, he has an assigner who's like an old Marine guy, and that old Marine guy will come and critique and educate the young referees that do Coach Carter's tournaments. And so that old Marine, and I'm not trying to say that old Marine. I don't want, brother, if you hear me, I'm not trying to insult you when I'm calling you old Marine. He's an older Marine Corps veteran, right?
Yeah.
And really squared away. And he goes and he holds he comes back and he talks to the referees and walks them through and like teaches them how to be better referees.
Hmm.
And I think that's the key, man. We need assigners that can hold, because what I see a lot of times is these referees, there's like a lot of times the coordinator of the event, they're busy because they've got 100 courts or
Hmm.
50 courts. And then the assigner, there's no, like, the assigner's not around. And then you got two 24-year-old or 22-year-old referee, and they're kind of young themselves. And they don't necessarily always know how to carry themselves.
Yeah.
And it can get out of hand real quick. So those assigners, I think, those older, mature assigners. Now I got another idea that I think could work really well. When the whole George Floyd thing was happening, I was a reporter and I was doing a lot of studying on how to fix the whole Black Lives Matter situation.
Hmm.
One of the problems is law enforcement. A lot of times they don't know the communities that they are enforcing.
Yeah.
So I was always thinking, why doesn't law enforcement for their charity, not charity, but their community service that they do to the community, why don't we make all the law enforcement the referees? And then
Yeah.
they get to know the community by being the referees. And then if you have law enforcement, if you know that the law enforcement is the referees, then you ain't gonna get but
You ain't gonna act up.
so I always think that like, so if I ever get rich, Coach Fowler, that's gonna be my idea that I'm gonna push, where we're gonna have law enforcement be the referees. And I have seen a little bit of that. Some of them are law enforcement, but it's just
Yeah.
not a lot.
We have one in Pennsylvania, and we have one that works in out of Harrisonburg sometimes as well. That is law enforcement, but comes and does refereeing to supplement their income, I guess. So
Yeah, I think it also would make them better cops, because when you are at the games, you really get to know what's going on in the community. You really get to see who's who and where's everybody at, and kind of be good eyes and ears for the community. So
yeah, no
I think
doubt.
it could work both ways. But
I'm not mad at that idea.
yeah, I gotta get rich though, Coach Fowler, to make people listen to me and make that happen. So
Yeah. But
so
another thing with the assigners that you were talking about, I wanted to touch on, is that if assigners are going to use kids like that, like use younger, and I say kids because I'm 40 something, but going to use these young 20-year-olds and they're fresh and they're new, they're trying to get their foot in the door. If an assigner is going to use them, they have to take it. They should take accountability for them as well.
yeah,
You're using them, you're bringing them into somebody else's tournament that your name is not on, but they're your officials. You're the one who assigned them. If you should be able to be there. If you're not going to be able to be there, then get better, good officials, better officials, ones that are more professional and can handle themselves in certain situations. But if you're going to use younger ones like that and new officials like that, you need to be there, be present.
yeah,
And I've had at my last tournament,
uh-huh,
and I don't know this person at all. But recently I've changed assigners, and I did a little bit of assigning myself for this last tournament that I held, and people started catching wind that I was the one assigning for my tournaments now, and I had a coach from an organization that was playing say, "Hey, I'm going to be there anyway. I can officiate some games for you. I heard you were starting to do the assigning now for your own tournaments. I can do a couple games for you." And that's the first thing that came to my head was like, what if people saw this?
right, right,
You know,
right.
uh, I'm not sure that I'm cool with that. It's because one, I don't want to have to. I try to move kids. I don't like people playing on the same court all day long, especially if I'm going to have the same officials there all day,
Right.
because I hate that as a parent. When we just had a horribly officiated game, and then we go back to that same court, and the same two guys are there. It's kind of like, man, we can't win for losing. But I don't want. I have teams moving all over the court, and if I put him at one court, he may officiate a game in his own division or
Right.
something like that. So it's too much extra work, and it does take away. To me, it takes away from the integrity of the game. I've watched a guy officiate games of kids that he knew, kids that played on his football team when he coached youth football, and uh, I've never seen him officiate his daughter's games, but I've seen him officiate games that are in the same division as his daughter, and it's like, bro, not at my tournament. There ain't
Right.
no way. Because that to me that just doesn't look right. Even if you have the most integrity of anybody in this world, I still just don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with that because somebody's not going to feel that you made the right call, and they're going to blame it on the fact that you're cheating because your daughter's in this division and this, or you coach this kid in football or whatever the situation may be. But to me, I think it's conflict of interest, and I wouldn't allow a coach to do the officiating.
Amen. There's a Bible passage that says, abstain from every appearance of evil. So if it looks wrong, you want to definitely stay. Even if you ain't doing nothing wrong, if it look wrong, then you
Exactly.
stay away from it. You know what I mean? So,
Every week, we feature an in-game basketball clip of a female baller. We take clips from AAU, public or private schools, wherever the hoopers are.
Send your basketball clips to AA Freshword on Instagram and Tony Speaks on Facebook, or you can leave your links in the comments of our YouTube page. That's it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all can do.
I want to talk about something. I had a little bit of a controversial post, and I was posting it and I really felt it. But then I started thinking about some of the conversations that we've all had here, and I was like, this post doesn't apply all the time, but it just applies to what I'm feeling right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, because I have my little cycle sports dad post, and I created a little meme for it, because what's really frustrating is when you're a basketball family, you don't have a whole lot of time to train. You don't have a whole lot of time to just for the family to hang out and do non-basketball stuff. You got grades, you got this, you got train, you got to do all this other stuff, and then. My daughter had this, we call it mandatory fun at this bigger organization that we're kind of headed out anyway. I don't want to blaspheme that organization, but it's a bigger organization and the thing. And then they were having this mandatory kind of like fake fun for good publicity and da 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 da. And that's why I made my little post and I put it on the screen here. I was like, hey, listen, this is not what we come to you for. We come to you for training. We come to you for team development. We come to you for competition, and I've seen it before where organizations try to focus on that kind of stuff, and it kind of can come off kind of contrived and kind of fake. But at the same time, I remember hearing, as I was posting, I remember your guys, I forgot their names, the really two good guys that you had on here in the early days of your AAU, and the real fun that y'all used to have together, and the kind of like family that y'all used to have. And I was like, well, it doesn't really apply in this situation, and but I guess my post was basically saying, know why we come to you. It was posted toward AAU organizations, like, know why we come to you. We don't come because I always feel like this. My kids nowadays, they are on group chats with all of their little girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
So if they really want to associate with another group of kids or whatever else, these kids, they start annoying me and Kim about a play date, or they start annoying, like they're going to make it, these kids will make it happen. If they want to get together and go to the pool or whatever else, we can make team stuff happen. But sometimes I think when these orgs try to force things along, it just can get kind of annoying, and it takes more time away from what we're doing. What are your thoughts on that? And what were you thinking when I posted that? And what are your overall thoughts? So what's the difference between the real and the fake? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say this. I'm the first to complain every single time something gets added or we have to go. I'm the first, but you know what? I'm also the one that kind of is a part of the choice of driving, the distance that we drive to play. And nothing's ever our direction. So anytime that they have a team building event or whatever they have, it's always, us having to drive or whatnot. So, I'm the first one to complain every single time about all of that. So, but then I have a good time. Listen, man, there's nobody that's enjoying this journey as much as me, man, because, it's anytime I can go do something with Italy. One, if it's not, if they're doing a team event and the parents are included, I still get to be with Italy. If it's basketball related, I love watching her play, so I get to be there to watch her play. So, but I'm gonna complain the whole drive about the traffic and everything else along the way. But then I'm gonna have a great time once I get there. But as far as I know, some organizations overdo it.
Right.
You're right. It is kind of fake. They overdo it. They do it for show. But I think it's necessary for teams to have team building opportunities. And what you're saying about your daughters, they're in these, because Italy's in the team chat and all that. But one thing that always happens is there's cliques even within the team chat.
You're right.
And so to get everybody together, sometimes you have to do it as a team. I used to make the kids when we would stay in hotels and we would be on the road, and the kids stayed in our hotels. Like, we raised enough money where we got hotels for the kids. Even if the parents went, the kids stayed together. And I would take two kids, I called them tournament buddies, and I would take two kids that normally wouldn't hang out, and I would make them be tournament buddies.
Okay, go ahead.
And why? They're not going to hang out with each other by themselves.
Right.
That's foolish to believe. What they're going to do, and you can't go anywhere without your tournament buddy. If we're at a restaurant, tournament buddy goes to the bathroom, you're with them, right? If they go downstairs, if y'all are tournament buddies in the hotels and one goes downstairs to get something at the desk, the other tournament buddy has to go. So one kid's always going to revert back to his friends and his clique. But now you have to pull this kid along with you because it's your tournament buddy. So he has to go with you. He may have his own tournament buddies, may have his own clique and his own crew that he wants to hang out with.
Yeah.
None of them can separate themselves anymore because they're tournament buddies. So what's going to end up happening? They're all going to end up together because I want to hang out with my crew. You want to hang out with your crew, but we can't do it separately anymore. We have to be together because we're tournament buddies. And it worked.
There you go.
It worked because they started hanging out with each other. They started getting to know kids that they wouldn't have normally gotten to know. And then you hear the kids on the podcast say, we had great times and this and that, because it was almost kind of forced, but it was intentional and calculated because I wanted them to bond as a team and not as cliques. And when you get and listen, I am a dad first. I monitor what goes on in those chats with my daughter because I monitor her phone in general.
Right.
And so, I see what happens in some of those team chats, and it ain't always positive, and it's not always carrying the team in the right direction. So, while I'm for it, they are going to make the social things happen. Italy has made a lot of really good friends through the teams that she's played for. So it will naturally happen, but I do think that sometimes the organization has to force some things. We have some team bonding event. We haven't had much team bonding with Boo in the past, but now we have like 3 team bonding events in the next 2 months or whatever, and that's to get us ready for what's coming. The team needs to bond. We have a couple new players. We've lost some players. It's just kind of we need to get this thing. We need to get this ship going in the right direction, and so I know why he's doing it. Am I excited all the time? No, because it's a 3-hour drive regardless. He has fit some of them into times when we're going to be there anyway.
Right.
But so I'm not always super excited about them, but I know what the purpose is for, and I do believe it in the long run. It's what's best for the teams. Now, for organizations just having a big old event for the whole organization, that's for sure. That's not necessarily team building. It does help the program. I think everybody getting acclimated with everybody throughout the program is a good thing, that people should know each other on different age groups and things and whatnot to build a family atmosphere for the whole program. But again, I think that will be the one that I would question over the actual team building stuff.
Now, that was a great point you mentioned that I did not think about, and it is very, very true. On those group chats, they get into little they get into little 3 or 4 here or 3 or 4
Hmm.
there, and it's not really the whole team, because then they'll develop, them girls will develop a little side chat where they want to leave out this girl or that girl. And
Yep.
yeah, so you absolutely right. You are absolutely, that's a good, that's a great point that I didn't think about, Coach Fowler. That's why I said in basketball, you the bigger brother. So now here's the thing.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe for the love of the game with Tony and Davis.
I
That
got
was
one
good.
more thing before we close, because this is a you, as a coordinator, as a tournament coordinator, I want to hear your opinion on this one. So, um, Courtney hasn't played, so she wasn't playing, but because she's still injured. But Courtney's team at this teammates tournament,
Hmm.
NTBSA or whatever it's called, um, Courtney's team was having a really great weekend where they went and they beat another seventh grade team that was a, we kind of knew that they were going to beat them, and then they beat us. So I'll go as they beat not MKW Elite, but that MKW Blue team
Hmm.
that's not on MKW Elite's level. So they
Yep.
beat them, and then they beat a Rocket team, and then they beat a really good team called JR Builders.
Okay.
And I'll edit out this name, but
Okay.
so so they were able to beat them by like 1 point, and that was a really good team, and they were able to beat them by 1 point. So they've been beat, and all of those teams were seventh graders. And in the same bracket though, for the championship, and we've been searching for a championship it's been a long AAU season, coach. You know what I'm saying? So we're not like y'all winning championships everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like we're kind of thirsty. It's a drought. And then you got Courtney banged up, second leading scorer. So uh uh in that bracket, we run into Milan's team. Amen. So all eighth graders, all killers, right? And we don't blame Milan's team at all. I'm friends with the head coach over there and everything. It's not their fault at all, but there was a little bit of we kind of fussed with teammates a little bit, the people who organized it, because we're like, why would you put these, like there was a little bit of fussing, because why would you put a whole eighth grade team against a whole seventh grade team in that bracket? Because then it's not going to really be. So then the teammates people kind of came back and they said, it's junior high versus junior high. What's the big deal? So you need to get over it. And then, someone on our side came back and said, that would be fair if it was seventh and eighth graders versus seventh, but you're basically playing a whole eighth grade team versus a whole seventh grade team, where you have in junior high you're going to face sixth, seventh, and eighth graders versus sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. You're not going to face a whole bunch of seventh graders versus a whole team full of eighth graders.
Mhm.
So when it comes, and I've seen that's happened at us with Henrico, where we go and dominate everyone our age group, and then in the brackets we end up getting someone that's 2 years older or a year older or whatever else. What are your thoughts when you've tried to put together brackets? What are your thoughts on situations like that?
So I look at it a couple different ways from what you're describing, because I do see that a lot. I look at it the same way teammate looks at it.
Okay.
It's middle school versus middle school.
Okay.
Um, However, you're typically not gonna. You're right. Middle school is sixth, seventh, and eighth graders playing. Sometimes there are teams that cut a lot of the younger sixth and seventh graders, and they're eighth grade heavy
Right.
that you'll play against in junior high or middle school or whatever. So that's not the best argument either. But well, you're very rarely going to have a team like Team Loaded that you have to play against
Right.
in middle school basketball.
Right. Right.
If
Right.
you're sixth and seventh graders, you're not going to run into a team that's like Team Loaded, and so that's where I'm kind of like, um, I don't know what they were thinking getting into that tournament or whatnot. This wouldn't even be a conversation if it was a team with eighth grader, any other team with eighth graders,
Yeah.
because you'd probably still be able to hang with them.
Right.
It's the fact that Team Loaded was in this tournament and playing this schedule. And I get it. Sometimes you need to play local, you need to play at home for some of the parents who can't always travel. You might need to play in a little warm-up tournament before you go and play, in a bigger tournament. But if this is your warm-up tournament, what are you really getting from it if you're blowing out the team in the championship game? If the competition has been so bad, or not bad, but so less than what you are, that you're blowing out the team that made it to the championship, probably not the best tournament to pick, and it wouldn't even be a conversation for the rest of the teams that are there because they're not playing against the Team Loaded.
Right.
I'm one that I don't really ever complain about those type of things. You play who's on the floor. People are hollering, "Oh, they're cheating! They're cheating!" Most likely, every team that you play against it has one or two that are questionable and could be cheating or whatever. So I don't even get into that stuff anymore, man. It's just play who's on the court, and whatever happens, happens. Um, but the reason that's even a situation is scheduling, by some certain teams. You know, you don't see now. Boo Williams will play just about anything that's at Boo Williams.
Right.
So if they can if they're available and there's a tournament at Boo Williams, there's Boo Williams teams playing in it.
Right.
But they're not going off and playing in teammate events and playing and shoot, they won't even come to mind.
Right.
That might change next year, though. We'll see. To be continued. But uh, but there's certain events that teams don't go to because they know that they're going to run into that level, and it serves you no purpose to blow everybody out. You're not getting anything from 30 point wins every single game, even the championship. Uh, you know, so I wouldn't even believe that this would be a conversation. I think he'd probably be coming and bragging about the championship y'all won over eighth graders if it was any other team. It just is. It just so happens to be Team Loaded,
Yeah.
and that makes it uneven for everybody. And nobody gets anything from it because Team Loaded didn't walk away from that other than just getting whatever medal or whatever they won from teammate is all they got from that, because they didn't get better as a team blowing people out 20 and 30 points. And nobody else got anything from it because it was uneven for everybody else. It was everybody playing for second, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what it was like. And matter of fact, to be honest with you, Coach, especially with Courtney, I'm not trying to say Courtney would have made, but I think Courtney could have maybe given us an extra 10 points. You know what I mean? But I stayed in the car, bro, because I wasn't gonna see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I don't want to see that slaughter, even though it's not my kid playing because my kid's injured. You get what you call it. You get attached to the other kids. You know what I mean? And I already knew Milan, Corin, Mia. I already knew what they were gonna do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I already knew that. I knew it was gonna be over in the first 5 minutes. So, and I'm not trying to dog our kids. It's just I know what team. I would say this though. I would pay probably $30. Matter of fact, it almost makes me want to organize a tournament. I would organize a tournament if I could get. I would love to see these 4 teams all play each other. I like to see Team Mello, Team Loaded, Your Boo Williams, and MKW Elite. I would love to see that right there, man. I would pay 30. I would pay. Now that's worth paying the $30 for right there. You know what I'm saying?
you name 3 7th grade teams and an 8th grade team.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's an 8th grade team. Yeah. You're right.
I would still play in that tournament. I would still be cool with it. I don't think, I'll be honest with you, at this point, MKW Elite would probably be the one that would struggle the most.
Okay.
But again, Team Mello didn't look great in New Orleans. We didn't look great in New Orleans. So the only team that's hot right now is Loaded. So
you admit that would be some dope 4 games, don't you think?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
That would definitely be, showtime.
Oh yeah, for real. Yeah. Matter of fact, I will might stop if I find y'all all on the schedule together. I might just stop everything I'm doing and travel to go see it myself. Hey, one last thing. Now here's the question. I don't know if you got to see it or not. Here's the question that ESPN was fussing about. I want to see what Coach Fowler got to say. Are the Spurs playing dirty ball or not? Do you think the Spurs are playing dirty ball or are they just playing tough ball?
So I heard what Shaq said last night about the Wemby situation
Uh huh.
on Jalen Brunson.
Uh huh.
I don't know if you saw that or not, where he basically grabbed him and threw him down to the ground, and Shaq's just like, get out of here, I'm trying to intimidate people. I'm trying to do, you know, uh, I think the foul they're trying to beat the heck out of Brunson. Everything that I'm seeing, they're going after him.
Right.
You know, um, what's old boy that ran up and hit him with both arms, and they said that he didn't extend through, and so they didn't give him a flagrant one or whatever. That was a flagrant one, man. If there's a definition of a flagrant one in basketball now in the 90s and 80s, that's basketball.
Right. Right. Right.
But if you're gonna call certain things one way, that was a flagrant one last night. So no, I mean the Spurs are doing what teams have had to do to slow, you know, teams that are just running over everybody down. I like the Jordan rules. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to beat them up and take them out of the game that way. Not injury wise, but being physical with them. Uh, so I'm not necessarily. I do believe that they are, um, but I don't hate it.
Right. Right. Right.
Because there's a team that did that to Italy this year in middle school basketball,
Oh wow.
and as I'm watching them do it, and it was the second time we played them, and as I'm watching them do it, I'm thinking in my head like they're doing this on purpose,
Mm.
and then I start thinking that's brilliant, actually, because it affected I mean she still I think she scored 24, but that was on the low end for her this year.
Right.
And so it was kind of like at the end of the game I was looking for the coach, not because I was mad like why are you beating up my daughter. I was gonna go say, hey, that was a heck of a game plan,
Right. Right. Right.
and
Right.
Italy needed that too, so I was kind of cool with it because Italy got something out of it. But um, but it was a great game plan. It was a great game plan when the Detroit Pistons did it to Michael Jordan. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I mean, it was a great game plan.
Yeah.
So I can't be mad at the Spurs if that's what their game plan is, but they are playing a little bit dirty.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Here's my take on it. Do I think that they're roughing up Brunson, and are they doing that intentionally and having some non-basketball plays on Brunson? Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, I ain't freaking out about it. You know why? Because on the other hand, even though it's not necessary, he's too big for them to get dirty with him. Man, I'm telling you, if they ain't holding and clinching on
That's
Wimby,
all you can do.
I
That's all you can do.
don't like when are y'all gonna come? Because Cat had him in a bear hug in the whole fourth quarter. He was holding on to him like this. I'm like, come on, man. Like I understand a little bit of contact, but he's just holding on to Wimby. I'm like, when are y'all gonna call? They ain't,
That's all you can do is hold on for dear life, man. That's
yeah. I'll say this.
but you're right. You said it at the very beginning of your point is
Uh-huh.
they're not doing what they're doing to Brunson to him.
Right.
They're not beating him up. They're just hanging on. I mean, and the thing is that there's always a little jersey pull or a little arm pull or something here or there. It is amplified a little bit on Wemby because what else are you going to do?
Right. 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 Right.
I
Right.
mean, if they're not holding on to him, Wemby's scoring 50, 60 points a game, in these finals or in any game. I mean, this is happening. Every team that plays the Spurs now know that they have to do something to Wemby and like that. And you might get away with it. That's
Yeah.
the thing is I think they look at it as you might get away with it a little bit more often than you don't. And we'll take a foul here or there just to kind of hold on and not let him use his length.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm very impressed with my future son-in-law. He is a really good guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Wimby. That's, I'm very impressed. Now I can't call him up. I don't know if he's a Christian yet, so I don't, what you call it. But I'm very impressed with that young man. He is poised. To me, I thought I don't necessarily. The only thing he does I don't like is I always tell my girls we cry in the van.
Yeah.
And that I don't really like crying out there on the court. Um, but other than that, I love everything about Wimby, man. I think if he stays healthy, I think that he's going to capture. He's already begun to do it. I've never seen America get so excited. There's certain players America gets excited about: Jordan, Curry. Now I think Wimby, and before Jordan, Magic and Bird.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even though he was a little bit of a jerk, I think America kind of got captured with Kareem.
Yeah.
Even though he has some jerk tendencies, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He still got, with the Bruce Lee and the airplane movies and everything, he kind of captured America. I think Wimby's kind of capturing America in a way that I haven't seen in a long time.
He's more durable than most people in the past that have been similar to his size. So if he can stay healthy, you're right. I think that we're gonna see the Spurs about as often as we did when Duncan played for him.
Yep.
So get used to seeing the Spurs.
Yeah. And hey, Lord have mercy, if he puts on another 15, 20 pounds of muscle in the offseason, it's a wrap.
If he starts bulking up, man, that even holding on to him is not gonna work.
Nah. Because you could tell he really, when they put arms on him, he's not strong enough to even get into the post. They keep telling him to get into the post, but you can tell, you can't make someone. He just doesn't have the strength right now to get into the post a lot of the time.
He fades away a lot as well, and nobody that size should be fading away, shooting fade away jumpers. The one right before the half last night, I mean, it's just him shooting a jumper in the game 2.
Right.
They're drawing up a play for him to shoot a jumper.
Yeah.
Bro, he should be trying to dunk every single time, basically. I mean, I watched him last night. They slowed it down, and he's looking at the rim, and it's got an arm as long as about everybody else on the court, and he's looking at the rim. So if you're that high, you should be trying to dunk every time.
But I tell you who's going to be another star, though. That boy Harper.
Harper's nice, man. I think De'Aaron Fox is probably gone after this year because Harper is going to need those minutes. For them to keep him around, they're going to have to give him minutes, and they're going to have to get rid of De'Aaron Fox to do that. So,
on top of that, De'Aaron Fox's salary jumps to 50.
Yeah.
So they're going to get rid of him. They're not going. Why are you going to pay 50 when you got 3 guys that can do pretty much what he does?
Yep.
And then now you got 3 guys. Regardless what happens, they've got finals experience now, and they've been on a deep playoff run. So they're now kind of have a veteran mindset. So you really don't even need him to be a veteran. So he's going somewhere, and then on top of that, you never know what are they going to get in turn for De'Aaron Fox. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's people. Everybody wants to play with Wemby at this point now. I mean, if we're still in that super team phase, somebody's gonna want to play with him.
So. I tell you what, send De'Aaron Fox to the Bucks. And
Giannis and Wemby would be. There ain't no way. I don't even think the NBA would let that happen, man.
Talk about super team, man.
That would be unfair. There's nothing you can do with that at that point.
Oh my Lord!
Nothing you can do with that.
No, it's over. It's a wrap. Hey, well, it's always great. Any closing thoughts, Coach Fowler, before we close out?
No, man. I think we nailed it. I think we covered all the things we wanted to cover. With some good stuff.
I appreciate you, Coach Fowler. Thank you for all you do, my brother.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you.
Man. Peace.